I'm going to take the Z Flip 5, the Oppo Find N3 Flip, the Tecno Phantom V Flip, and the Razr 40 Ultra, the most popular flip phones of 2023, and I'll evaluate them under 10 categories, and for every category a phone wins in, it'll get a score. And then we'll just add them up to see which phone wins. First, let's pick the most sensitive factor, the price. And if you just look at the prices of all 4 phones, we've got the Tecno Flip at the lowest price and the Find N3 Flip being the most expensive. So sure, the sheer fact that Tecno is able to provide a flip phone at 55,000 rupees gets Tecno a point. But mind you, the low price does come with its own compromises, and we'll talk about that. But first, let's talk about design. And yeah, design is subjective, but in this case, there's one very clear winner. The Samsung Z Flip 5 looks the best, at least to me. In fact, I recently got my hands on its new yellow color with this dark aluminum matte finish frame, and it is really good looking. And I do believe that it launched at a very convenient time because it does bring a certain festive vibe to it. And sure, you may or may not like the yellow, but hey, they've got a bunch of other colors to choose from. But you know, it does feel the most premium, very sleek, and it's just much more finessed than any of these other flip phones. Oppo's Find N3, it has like this plasticky shell, and I'm not very fond of glossy designs in general. The Razr 40 Ultra and the Tecno Flip have a very similar vegan leather finish at the back, which does feel good. It doesn't get as fingerprinty, but they still don't feel as premium and as snug as the Z Flip 5. So, purely from an aesthetics and ergonomics perspective, I'm just going to give this to the Z Flip 5. But a big part of the design is actually that cover screen. And cover screen is tricky. Look, let's simply discard Tecno Flip, considering it is pretty much just a smartwatch in the center. It's a usability disaster. I mean, you can't type, and your thumb would keep interfering even if you wanted to take a picture. I mean, just forget about it. Now the choice is really between a vertical cover screen or a rectangular cover screen. See, the vertical cover screen on the N3 Flip, it resembles more of a regular phone, and so it feels more natural to use. It's easier to scroll emails, use for navigation, for short form video content, and probably the best for previewing when taking selfies. However, it makes replying with messages quite tough as the keyboard is very congested, which is actually a lot easier and natural on the rectangular cover screens. I honestly find the rectangular cover screens easier for content consumption as well. And so this one really boils down to personal preference, but because it's personal preference, and personally speaking, I do prefer the rectangular cover screens on both the Razr 40 Ultra and the Flip 5. So both of them can actually get a point, but I just prefer the Razr 40 Ultra's smoother, brighter, and bigger cover screen, so this one goes to the Razr. Now, let's talk about the hinge. So if I just look at how satisfying opening and closing a flip phone is, the Z Flip 5 easily stands out. It's the smoothest and feels the most consistent. In fact, it can be placed at multiple angles more confidently than on any other flip phone. Other phones, they either don't have the right resistance to hold themselves firmly, and so even if, let's say, the Tecno Phantom V Flip is tested for over 2 lakh folds, it doesn't matter if it's going to start making sounds within a few days after you get it. That's also true actually for the Moto Razr 40 Ultra. It does make like a bit of sound. So yeah, the Z Flip 5 just easily takes this one without a doubt. And while hinge durability is important, there are all other kinds of durability that is also important. First amongst that is IP certification, and the Z Flip 5 is the most resistant to water with IPX8 resistance. Second, in terms of exterior protection, and in that too, the Z Flip 5 has the highest level of protection with Gorilla Glass Victus 2. And so durability wise, just by sheer facts, the Z Flip 5 takes it very easily. But now, let's talk about cameras. And if I just compare the specs, the Oppo Find N3 Flip actually stands out, especially being the first flip phone to have a telephoto lens. But if you've learned anything about the cameras, is that specs is not everything, so let's take a look at the samples. So just looking at some random shots I took, the Z Flip 5 with its slightly warm tone looked a bit better, though I do think that the other 3 did a pretty good job as well. But in here, I almost immediately felt that the Z Flip 5 took the best shot. It looks sharper for sure, and even the water looks more lively. However, here, I think the Flip 5 and Tecno boosted the colors way past what I would consider natural. The Oppo and the Moto did a better job. Again, here, prefer the warmer and the sharper picture on the Flip 5. All the others felt a little hazy. Now, this was a shot I took very specifically to see which phone would capture colors the best. The Z Flip 5 balanced it out the most. Moto and Oppo kind of washed the colors. Tecno just really underexposed the picture. You can see the harsh shadows here. On this one, I believe all except Tecno did a very similar job, not much of a difference. In fact, even in this one, very similar again. Even here, not very different except Oppo really made the yellow bright and kind of nice. Not natural, but still good. But coming to portrait shots, I always like the warm skin tones on the Samsung phones and I like them here too. But even Oppo and Moto did a decent job. Tecno again, very dark for some reason. And here I actually prefer the one on Oppo and Moto from a skin tone standpoint. However, if I look at the edge detection, I really think Samsung in general does the best job with it. The others aren't bad really, but if I had to nitpick, I'd probably say the Samsung is still most accurate. One thing I noticed when taking photos, just look at the floor in all these pictures. The texture, the detailing on the Flip 5 is slightly better and easily noticeable. But the Oppo Find N3 is a very close second, I believe. So when it comes to camera, I think it's pretty much a draw between the Z Flip 5 and the Oppo Find N3 because there are times where the Find N3 actually does a better job, but there are some cases where the Z Flip 5 does a better job. So it really is about your use case and I can't decide what matters to you more. But yeah, so I would just give a point to both. But do note that the Z Flip 5 additionally does have better edge detection and it does offer 4K video recording at up to 60 FPS. So that's just another trick up Galaxy Z Flip 5's sleeves. And now, coming to performance. If we only look at the raw power, the Z Flip 5 with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 is definitely the best. Like, in things like downloading and installing an app, or downloading a very heavy file, or 5G performance, or even simple neural and AI processing that happens on your phone, you'll just find the Z Flip 5 noticeably faster than any of these other phones just because it's got Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. But otherwise in like day-to-day tasks, you won't really notice much of a difference across all the three phones, leaving Tecno out. They're all very capable and very fast. But yeah, if I had to crown one phone, it would be the Z Flip 5. And now let's talk about display. I mean, it is really important. You look at the display all day long. And when it comes to display, there are really just two things in flip phones. The actual display quality and the crease. Look, they're all 10-bit AMOLED panels with high refresh rates, so they're absolutely stunning, colorful, very bright, flagship level displays. But there are subtle things that differentiate them. Look, Tecno is probably the worst when it comes to brightness because it's just 1000 nits, which is low by flagship standards. And it also doesn't support HDR playback on Netflix. Now, if you want the largest display and the highest refresh rate, then Razer is the one to go with. But if you prefer the brightest display, then the Z Flip 5 is the one you should go with. And if you want the phone with the least amount of crease, go with the Oppo Find N3. So yeah, I think all displays are great except probably for the Tecno, but you should decide what's more important to you. Okay, finally, let's talk about software experience, and they all run on Android 13, but again, there are subtle things that stand out. To start with, the Z Flip 5 will offer you upgrades for 4 years, so you're going to get all the way up to Android 17 on Z Flip 5, while the rest, they just don't match up. So that in itself is a pretty big factor. Now the next thing about software when it comes to flip phones is how well do they really make use of the flex mode and the cover screen. Look, in terms of flex mode, I still feel the Z Flip 5 does a better job. I mean, it has a flex mode for more apps than any other flip phone. In terms of cover screen, I think the Razer 40 Ultra offers a better software experience or usability. It's a bigger cover screen. It supports many more apps natively right out of the box. But if you installed Good Lock on Flip 5, you can pretty much run any app on your phone in some form or the other, so you don't miss out on the fun. Look, Tecno is probably the worst because it really doesn't have much to offer from a software standpoint. And the Find N3, look, it still needs to provide you with a cleaner UI and it still needs to provide you more years of upgrades. So it still has to find out its way. Because if you look at the Z Flip 5 or the Moto Razr 40 Ultra, they come with a very clean, bloatware-free UI and a very handful useful preloaded utility apps. Like there's no hot games or hot apps that you need to uninstall later. So in terms of software, I think I'm going to give a point to both the Z Flip 5 and the Moto Razr 40 Ultra. And lastly, let's touch upon battery and charging. And this is where the Oppo Find N3 outperforms everyone. It's got the largest battery capacity with a fast 44-watt charging capability. You can basically charge it to 50% in under 30 minutes and a full charge in just 1 hour. And so really, without much discussion, I think from a battery and charging perspective, the Oppo Find N3 definitely takes this one. But, do note that the Z Flip 5, it offers the fastest wireless charging and it can reverse charge other devices. Not all flip phones can do that. So yeah, guys, those are the 10 categories that I think matters to the most of us, and some categories within these categories matter more to us. For example, if camera and battery is more important to you over design and software, then you're probably better off with the Find N3 Flip. But then if you're like me and you prefer design, software, and durability, you'd probably go for the Z Flip 5. I really think it offers the most polished and premium flip phone experience, and it's therefore easily at the peak of flip phone innovation, at least according to me. And hey, if you're super price sensitive and you still just want a flip phone experience, then probably the Tecno Phantom V Flip is for you. So yeah, just think about the kind of flip phone experience you want, and accordingly you can go with one of these four. Now, if you guys still have any questions, doubts, concerns, make sure you drop them in the comment section and I'll try to answer to as many of you as possible. And yeah, that's it about this video, guys. I hope this was really helpful. And if it was, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification icon, and please mark all. Really helps the channel grow. I'll see you guys in the next one.